Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and let's talk a little bit about this trend in the last few years of YouTubers coming on and claiming they're eating ultra high or unlimited calories while losing weight, not just body fat, but losing weight. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. And you know what I would say to all the fanboys of these various people, which one of them is lying? Because these people oftentimes promote exact opposite diets on the opposite end of the spectrum, like extreme diets, while eating unlimited calories and losing fat while claiming that the other type of diet is what makes you fat. People to stop and think about that. Now look at Jason Wittrock, I think that's how you say his name. Jason Wittrock, that was an example of someone I pointed out recently, claiming he was eating whatever amount of calories and increased his calories to 4,000 and started losing weight. Was losing weight on 4,000 calories while not losing weight faster on like 2,000. That doesn't even make any sense. And he follows a ketogenic diet. And is one of the people who claims that it's carbs that make people fat. So you've got the ketogenic diet over here, which is one extreme. Almost all animal products, usually at least 80%, if not 100% animal products by calorie. Extremely high fat, low carbohydrate, right? Claiming, again, a metabolic advantage eating unlimited calories. Then you have John Venus. Just recently made a video, it looks like, because I covered that a little bit earlier today, claiming 10,000 calories on an ultra high carb, a low-fat vegan diet. A diet comprised almost entirely of carbohydrates, mostly carbohydrates, very little fat, no animal products. And the people like this claim that it's dietary fat and animal products that make you fat. So extreme opposite claims. People claiming that it is the opposite type of food from what they eat that makes people fat, and that they can eat virtually unlimited calories of their specific food type while losing body weight. Not just body fat, but body weight. Meaning they're somehow cheating calories in and calories out. Do you guys see the ridiculousness of this? Both these groups of people who do this stuff claim that the other extremes eating patterns are what causes it, because plants are mostly carbohydrates. Almost all plants that you eat are mostly carbohydrates. So essentially the ketogenic diet followers are saying getting many of your calories from plants is basically what makes people fat. And that you should be eating primarily animal products, mostly animal products. You need tons of fat to lose weight, all right? Because it's carbohydrates and plants that make you fat. Vegans on the other extreme are claiming that it's the animal products and fat that makes people fat. And both groups stand here and use anecdotal evidence to claim that eating the other person's type of food is what makes you fat, and they eat unlimited calories of their chosen type. I would ask anyone following them which one is lying, because both groups essentially make the same claim and they're contradictory and claim unlimited calories while losing fat. One of these groups has to be lying. Which one is it? Which one is providing fake anecdotal evidence? If you follow any of these people, you're going to have to decide that. Furthermore, you know what? The truth is, both groups are lying. That's what the reality says, because you know what? There's never been a study found that shows that you can eat unlimited calories without gaining body fat. And it doesn't matter what sort of diet a person follows. All right? Excess calories will always lead to some fat gain. Now, we could argue that some types of diets might produce less fat gain than others per calorie on excess, and that is true, but they don't stop fat gain. If you eat surplus calories, you will gain weight and you will gain body fat. Now, you might gain some muscle weight in there. You might even gain a large amount of muscle in there, but you will gain some body fat if you overeat calories, right? And it doesn't matter whether it's a ketogenic diet, a high-carb vegan diet, people gain fat on surplus calories. You do not lose weight without a calorie deficit, and that has been found in study after study after study. The only exception, meaning for short periods of time, a ketogenic diet will cause water weight loss without calorie reduction. But it's not body fat, it's not tissue weight, it's temporary shifts in fluid balance. Now, here's the kicker to all of this. These people make these outrageous claims to promote their extreme diets, because these are both extreme diets. These are diets that exclude enormous amounts of healthy, naturally occurring food sources. All right, they cut out entire food groups completely, major food groups. These are extremely restrictive, dogmatic type diets, both extremes here. Yet people lose weight on all of them, meaning people have successfully lost body fat. And when I say people, I mean tens of thousands of people have successfully lost weight and body fat on ketogenic diets, eating ultra high fat. People have successfully lost body fat on ultra high carb, mostly plant-based diets that are low in fat. And you know what? Tens of thousands of people have also successfully lost weight, sometimes over 100 pounds of body weight and body fat, while eating diets that contain both. Do you know what they all have in common when we study them in a lab? They have reduced caloric intake. Do you know what diet leads to the best long-term and consistent fat loss for any person? A diet that they can adhere to. Diet adherence. Diet adherence, meaning the ability to maintain a diet that allows you to eat a caloric deficit for prolonged periods of time without having to binge off of that diet. Whatever that diet happens to be, a lot of that's psychological, a lot of that's hormonal for different people. And in that regard, people are different. No one is different in the sense of some people will lose more weight on a different, or more body fat on any given composition of diet. It has to do with diet adherence. It has to do with people's individual food addictions. It has to do with people's individual food triggers. It has to do with people's dopamine response in their brain to various foods. All right, that's what matters. That's what's individual. But some of that we've already looked at and we've figured out what's going on there. For example, people who have addiction that runs in their family, which means that dopamine affects their brain differently, when they eat refined sugars. When they eat refined sugars, it increases their caloric intake. There's decent data on that at this point. A lot of other people who have large stomach capacities tend to overeat a lot more on a higher fat diet. All right, people who have, again, are just prone to appetite problems in general will tend to eat large amounts of fat. So there's a lot of different factors going on here as far as individual appetites. And that's why some people do better on others. But you know what's always consistent? Any diet that allows any individual person to adhere to it and consistently eat a caloric deficit, they will lose weight on. All right? Doesn't matter the composition of the diet, but the thing they all have in common is caloric deficit. It's caloric deficit. And here's the thing. It's one thing to tell people, look, you can follow a given diet and it may reduce your appetite enough that you don't need to count calories. That's absolutely true, meaning you don't necessarily have to track calories to lose weight. All right? If you're eating a diet that gives you enough satiety for your activity level that you will eat less calories than you burn most of the time, most days, just due to the nature of the diet. And there's a lot of different diets that do that for people. Some people just fill up better on a bunch of vegetables. Some people fill up better on fiber. Some people fill up better and have a natural appetite suppression from a high-fat ketogenic diet because, number one, it causes a little bit of nausea, which reduces appetite. It's a mild nausea that's been documented with it. And because you're reducing food choices, you're limiting your number of different foods, people will eventually just eat less without tracking. And that is often the case. If that's the case of any sort of restrictive diet, when you only have so many food choices available, a less varied diet, people will tend to not overeat those foods. And this isn't true of everyone, by the way. This isn't even true of everyone, but most people will tend to just eat less in general because they don't enjoy their food as much. They get used to eating given foods and they lose the pleasure of eating those same foods over and over, so they will just tend to overeat less. And in that case, people will lose weight. But the thing is, it has been shown repeatedly when we go to a metabolic ward and we study people, we don't take anecdote, we don't take self-reported data, that caloric deficit, consistent caloric deficit is what causes weight loss and fat loss, not eliminating individual foods, not eliminating individual micronutrients. And here's the thing, all these people do this stuff with self-reported data. You know what we've found over the years? People lie about self-reported data. There have been studies on people on restricted calories, and you know what you find? When most people are put on a restrictive diet, they struggle to actually track their food accurately. Even when given food scales, even when given various tools, a lot of people will track their food intake extremely inaccurately. And I don't just mean a few hundred calories. I'm talking people being off by 1,000 or 2,000 calories a day sometimes. That's how badly people track their calories when they go on a restrictive diet sometimes. There's documented evidence of this. It's been done in metabolic wards and observed people, like in psychology studies. Self-reported food intake is not allowed for good studies. So this is exactly what we're talking about. These are anecdotal reports of people claiming they track their food accurately, claiming it. But when we study it, humans are actually pretty bad at self-reported food intake. When we do studies on anything in nutritional science, self-reported food intake studies are considered to be low weight evidence because humans are bad at it. The stuff that's considered to be better studies are when we put people in a metabolic ward. And when I say we, I don't mean me personally. People freak out when I say that for some reason because they're autistic as fuck. But we, the human race, or anyone studying this stuff, when people put people in a metabolic ward and study them, it's considered to be a higher amount of evidence. And when you put people in the metabolic ward, what you find is that no type of diet causes consistent fat loss without a caloric deficit. It doesn't matter if it's a high-fat, low-carb diet, a low-carb, high-fat diet, a mixed diet, a balanced diet. It doesn't matter. When you put people in a metabolic ward where the scientists get to track everything that person eats and they're monitored 24 hours a day, none of these things that these people report doing with their anecdote actually ever turns out to be true. Ever. Never a single documented case. So here's the thing, all these people who are promoting this on YouTube, who are telling you they're doing this stuff with unlimited calories, are fucking lying to you. Because when we study these same people who even make these claims, when you put them in a laboratory where you can monitor them 24 hours a day and the scientists get to measure out their food, it doesn't work anymore. They have to have a caloric deficit to lose weight at that point. Just food for thought. Maybe these people are scamming you. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.